Assalamu alaikum. There is a kind of conflict between the Supreme Court and government. Who is right and who is wrong? Government has decided to make a new legislation, amend the old legislation and bring a new one, a sort of amendment in the constitution, in the law, in the rules regarding Supreme Court of Pakistan, regarding Chief Justice of Pakistan. As a matter of fact, it is the responsibility as well as the privilege of the parliament to make the legislation, to amend the constitution and to amend the law. That is the sole purpose of the parliament. Although the Pakistani parliament is seen doing poking their nose, they are trying to take everything else in their hands, but their primary work is to make the legislation. Unfortunately, most of these people don't know how to legislate at all. It is the right sort of bureaucrats who are dictated to develop this sort of legislation. And then although some of the parliamentarians do know the legislation, but overwhelming majority of these don't know. They are simply either casting the vote in the favor of a legislation or opposing it. But somehow it is the right and privilege of the parliament to make the needed or wanted amendments in the law and the constitution. And what is the primary role of the courts, Supreme Court, High Courts, and the lower courts? What is the role of the judiciary? The role of the judiciary is to interpret the law. If at all a case has arrived, there is a kind of conflict, or a case has arrived, then in that case, it is the it is the duty as the prerogative of the judiciary to decide whether who is right and who is wrong, or even if both are wrong. So it is actually interpreting the law and the constitution is the responsibility of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. As far the holding of elections is concerned, within 90 days, definitely it is the work of the judiciary, because the constitution has not been amended yet in that respect. Although there is a there is a clause in the constitution that the elections can be postponed under certain circumstances. Somehow it is the responsibility as well as the privilege of the Supreme Court of Pakistan judiciary to decide, to interpret the law according to the situation. Now the parliament has drafted a bill and the president has not signed it for the first time. This did it send it second for the second time to the president, but he didn't sign it either. It will become a law within few days, even if the president doesn't sign it at all. But now the judiciary, the judiciary either on their own or because on the motivation, persuasion of some political force, they have taken it, prior to it has become the law. Prior to it has become the law. And the Chief Justice has constituted an 8-member bench instead of full court bench, because the very important and the very controversial situations demand a full court bench. Now, I think that on the one hand, the Supreme Court is right because the elections must be held within 90 days. On the other hand, as far this law is concerned, I think that stopping this law coming into action, it's not the privilege and the right of the Supreme Court at all. So I think that here, in unfortunately, in Pakistan, the institutions does not remain with their own limits at all. They are seen, you know, they are seen, going beyond that. You see that army has several times staged the coup and became themselves the ruler. Why? Because they were doing much, much more than they were asked to do, than they were supposed to do. Now, even the government does that, even the judiciary does that as well. Although the army is not an institution, but still, it is the one of the most powerful, or maybe the most powerful, or one of the most of few powerful entities in Pakistan. So we cannot deny their existence. We cannot deny their power. They cannot be actually put aside so easily. But as for the constitution is concerned, I think that the constitution doesn't allow them to interfere into the political affairs at all. Rather, they are meant to safeguard the boundaries of the country. The institutions in Pakistan go much, much more than what they are supposed to do.